Greetings, programs. This is Let's Code a Full 90, where we'll take the next hour and a half and dig into some source code, try to make the world a little bit of a better place. I'm your host, Rob Menching, and today we're still working on the Wix tool set. We're still working on incremental build. We're still working on just trying to make everything work well. All right, I want to be honest with you. I didn't think I was going to be here today. I've been hunting down this big, bad, nasty, systemic issue in FireGiant, and I was like, I have to keep working this, and it wasn't until, I don't know, about when I sent that tweet out about a half hour ago that I went, you know what, I finally got this thing under control. It's not done, but you know what, I like hanging out here with you guys, so I decided, you know what, let's keep the streak alive. This is fun. Let's go ahead and jump out here. But the result is I'm not as prepared as I might have otherwise been, because I'm not joking, I really wasn't thinking I was coming out today. I thought, you know, I was gonna have to call it a week, try to jump in next time. All right. But given what we had left out in front of us and what's still checked out here, we're looking at incremental build still. So I figured we could pick up one of the random items that I knew were floating around this and make some progress on it today and hang out and see if people want to talk about things, chill, whatever's going on. Have a little, a little fun. I'm working on some new, some behind the scenes stuff. I'm working on some bits and pieces here to make the stream run a little smoother for me. I've got a lot of moving parts around me, as everybody does, streams does, and I'm learning more and more how much is going on when you're trying to do these kinds of things. So that's been a fun experience, but my birthday's coming up, and my wife said I could go ahead and splurge and get myself a stream deck up, and I'm still getting it configured. There's a lot to it, but oh my gosh, I can see why everybody's like, this is the best tool for running streams. Push one button, have a bunch of things done for you, and also then a lot of stuff built in to help you do just that. Anyway, this is where I'm at. Let's see. Yeah, I'll try this, see if some of these things are working. Let's see, where are we going to go? Right, so we're incremental build. Still has some decisions around where we're at with the intermediate files and in the tracked file system. But I thought maybe we'd go through first and kind of knock this thing out. Go and sit and think if there's anything that needs to have MS Build all projects attached to it to make sure that they run again should any of their reference projects. And I think we might have one that needs that. So real quick, if we remember, let's go see where we added this. So we added this into the Wix targets here as an input to core compile to say, hey, if any of the project files that we depend on are updated, then we need to make sure that this gets recompiled, because this exposed the issue where we edited one of our project references, and a Wix project, it depends on CS project or a V6 project or whatever, and we edited one of those projects, and then we built just the Wix project, and it was like, hey, everything's up to date, because it didn't recognize that the project file had been updated. So adding this here fixed that. Essentially, it says all the projects around me, if any of them change, I need to recompile. Now, we don't have many targets. We don't have many targets in the Wix build today that have inputs and outputs on them, and maybe that's something as we're going along to kind of think about, should there be more things with inputs and outputs? I think, and my hypothesis is that's because we don't have a lot of targets in the Wix tool set that generate outputs to disk. We have things that modify what's going on in memory, and as such they need to run every time, but also as such they run very quickly, so we don't have to worry too much about their inputs and outputs. So let's go ahead, I'm going to grab this and we're going to go jump up to the top, and I'm going to start first with things that have inputs and outputs. This is not one of them. This is just the name of the task here is remove duplicates, built in MS Build, and you can pump a bunch of inputs into it. So that's just the name of the parameter on that. That is not an inputs. Ditto, there's two uses of remove duplicates. It's funny that this is right here, because I'm making a change somewhere else, working on I was talking about some of those systemic issues. One of the fixes I'm doing in another branch of mine is actually I'm getting rid of these remove duplicates. So quick digression, since we're here, the remove duplicates is done because when you go into resolve Wix references, I guess it's possible that if you have a Wix extension, you could come in here, and what happens is it essentially goes searching for Wix extensions and Wix libs, searches on your disk in all these different places, trying to find where the standard install locations, these are standard install locations where Wix lib and extensions may be. This goes and searches them, trying to find things of those types, and then as it finds them, it spits them all out into this resolved parameter and then or item group, that is, and then this item group is fed in, and any duplicates are cleaned up and put into resolved Wix extensions paths. And so we have two steps here that have to happen, when really, why doesn't this right here just do the cleanup itself, and then we don't have to remove duplicates? Because if we look around, we'll find that this all resolved isn't used anywhere else. So we don't need the case where more things were resolved. We can go ahead and filter. So I have a change where I'm going to do that, which will get rid of this little block, which then cuts down in the number of steps that happen here. Also, you see this is a create property, which is the old way that you had to in MS Build 2, 3, I forget, a long time ago, where you had to, if you wanted to instantiate a property that wasn't at the top level, like this right here on 423, you could create properties. But if you wanted to create a property inside a target, you had to use this syntax, which was essentially take the value and output it to the property name, and it was not much fun. So anyway, there's this, and if we go look up in the libraries, which do a very similar thing, library search paths, notice here we can just put them inside the value of this property, define a property group, and the syntax is just, I think, a little clearer. You're declaring, hey, I want this property, as opposed to more imperative where you're saying, yeah, create this property, do this and this kind of things. Anyway, same result on both ends. It's just that as I was doing lots and lots of look at Wix bin logs, I was seeing these create properties and these remove duplicates showing up, and it was just generally noise in the system. Anyway, digression. So we're continuing to look for inputs. Omits? I don't know what that is. Inputs. All right, so we're back to the remove duplicates. Onward. Inputs is only core compile. And there's MS Build all projects, as we'd expect. Wow. Yeah, so I said that there might not be many targets that have inputs and outputs, and if we look, there are just these. Okay. I guess that's not completely surprising, or shouldn't be surprising. Yeah. All right, well, makes me wonder, should we have more of them? All right, let's go ahead and search and take a quick scan at all of our targets and see if they meet the criteria I was talking about before, which is essentially just data operations in memory kinds of things. So target extension, not a target. Target name, these exist purely to make all of MS Common targets happy. We don't actually resolve references, and we don't have framework paths because Wix doesn't do those kinds of things, so we can ignore those things. These are more properties that are named the target. All right, here's our first actual target that's ours. Update project reference metadata. Right, so it takes in all of the project references that have been found by common targets that exist, and then it calls a touchy mouse, and then it calls this task to update, to handle any published projects, which is handling the .NET Core projects that now have to be published instead of just built. So it handles that kind of thing there. It then creates a couple of groups. So what does this do? This essentially runs every time, because it has no inputs and outputs. It doesn't write anything to disk, so they're never going to exist on the inputs now. It essentially just has the only inputs would be these MS Build project files, and it has no outputs because it's just in-memory stuff. So that does not need inputs or outputs. All right, so that holds just data manipulation. All right, what is this doing? This is saying resolve the native project references, right? Because VCX projects don't use get target path? Is that the problem? Yeah, you have to call get native target path instead of get target path, because V6 project is different from everybody else. Anyway, so this essentially calls down into the V6 project so that we can get those target outputs. Again, the inputs are all the VCX projects. The outputs are, well, we don't have any outputs. It's essentially just a data manipulation. And while this says MS Build, it ends up being really fast because this is already a project reference. We've already loaded all these projects. So this is essentially a command inside MS Build to say, hey, go run this function over here and give me the answer. In the end, that's all it's doing. It's not like it's doing a whole build, the whole project kind of thing. All right, so another data entry thing. Convert resolve project references into Wix constructs. This is doing more in-memory stuff. So if we have any of those resolve project reference paths, which was the target we saw above, go ahead and add some inputs and outputs, item groups. Again, it's all data, so that's good. Resolve Wix library references. So take the Wix library references in, resolve them. This is where we're looking before, and then it sends you back the paths to them. Yeah, so the inputs would be these references. Yeah, these references don't necessarily even exist on disk. So yeah, this doesn't have any inputs. This is, again, just in-memory manipulations, which is fine. They're fast. This is the same for extensions. Okay. Assign target paths. This is an override of the common targets to handle the special work we do with Wixel files and automatically laying out your MSIs into separate folders. So if you have like a ENUS and a JJP Wixel files, then we will build two MSIs in those subdirectories. Again, this is all just setting up properties and items inside, so that's good. Create manifest resource names. This is a target that all projects have to have. We use it to convert our embedded resources into the Wix localization file references here. And we add a type. So what happens there is that we end up converting embedded resource into our own internal item group, so that, and then remove all the item embedded resources from that to prevent all of the common project systems satellite DLL generation stuff from kicking in, which of course doesn't make any sense for a Wix project. So we essentially grab all the embedded resources, toss them into our own item group, and then move on. Why do we do it this way? Well, we picked embedded resource, I don't know, in the very beginning when we moved to Wix project. I don't know, was that Wix 3? I don't know, a long time ago. Whenever we adopted, I think it was probably in 3. I'm trying to remember. There was a very short time period where we were going to have our own project system, but then MS Build came out. It's called XMake back then. So yeah, I guess from the beginning. Anyway, embedded resources is what the item name inside the MS Build projects were for CSproj and VBproj, I assume. For the .resx files, our Wixel files, WXL files, are the same as resx files, or serve nearly the same purpose, implemented a different way, of course. So we're like, well, since their resx files is embedded resource, then we'll use embedded resource in our project file for Wixels. And back then, Wix was a completely independent build system from common projects and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But when we join with common targets, now we have to play nice in the rest of the system. And one of those things is, well, we're still calling it embedded resource because it still makes sense, but we need to disable the embedded resource so it doesn't kick in the rest of the common target stuff. Anyway, a long answer to basically say this doesn't do anything but in-memory manipulation. Is that really our next target? I guess it is. All right, now we're gonna get down farther. What's this one? Create project define. Oh, all right, so yeah, this is where we... yeah. This is where we create defines. I was looking for something more complicated here, but no, it is just creating defines. So we take all the various variables that exist in the Wix proj and shove them into properties, and then we take those we take the properties in here and we shove them into this project define constants, which ends up being preprocessor variables that you can use. So yay. Platform, configuration, projector, project extension, all that kind of good stuff. All right, next target. Read previous bind inputs and build outputs. So this is interesting. So here we have an input, which would be the inputs file. The problem is that our outputs from this task is just some things in memory. Namely, we populate the bind inputs and the bind build outputs values from reading this file. So we don't have any outputs. We definitely have inputs, which is the file itself, the tracking file, but we don't have any outputs. So I think we don't get to put inputs or outputs on that one. Update file rights with bind information. Right, so what does this do? This reads our tracking file for all the changes that, all the files that were output, and we add them to this magical item called file item inside MSBuild called file rights, which MSBuild then, not MSBuild, the common targets and all those have the standard systems for tracking all the files that were written during the build, and then they do all the cleanup for you, which is very nice. You just have to make sure that you get anything that's a file right in there. So this has no real inputs. You could look at the track files input, but the outputs is, again, just populating this item group. So that's good. This is a meta target. I don't know, a target that calls other targets. Basically, hey, go get me all the project outputs. And there they are. All the things that were built, the debug symbols, source files, and the content files. And yeah, this has outputs. This is interesting. So this doesn't have inputs, but it does specify its outputs as the built project output group. Yeah, Sean, you're right. All those defined constants do depend on project files. So the thing is that because we don't have inputs or outputs on these targets, they run every time. So we only have to add it to there if we have inputs or outputs. So what I'm trying to figure out is, do we need to list inputs, outputs to minimize how often these projects get built? So that they basically say, hey, look, the inputs, these files on disk, timestamps are already up to date compared to the outputs of this, therefore I can skip this whole target. And we don't have many of those because a lot of them, like as we were just going through, are just in memory manipulations. So they always run because they don't have anything that they can look at on disk with a timestamp and say, hey, that's up to date. And I think this is the same problem. This doesn't have any inputs. Yeah, this one's, yeah. Here we'd have to read the tracking file for all of the inputs before we did that for this. It's interesting, but this doesn't. Yeah. So this will always run and always try to get you these values. And the only time these values would change. Yeah, this is also an override target, which means that we've already copied it and they don't have any inputs on there. So I'm inclined to say that these are just in memory and the outputs here are just ways to getting the values back out. Copy files to output directory. Yeah, and this is, if you call copy files to output directory, it always does it. Yes, copy, copy, copy. And calculating the inputs and the outputs to this would be interesting, but would require all of these and then list all the outputs. So in this case, what you can do is try to have some depends on targets that would read these files, do those, and then copy, except this has skip unchanged files, right? Other way? Okay. Copy files is an interesting target. I don't know. This could maybe have inputs, outputs. It's interesting. If we were able to calculate all of the files that are going to be copied and then calculate where all of them are going to be copied to, which we can because we end up with this source files and destination files, then technically speaking, that could be the inputs and outputs to this target, and then this target would skip its work if everything was already up to date. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'm going to write that down just as a little thing to ponder over. Let's see, what was I saying? The thing is that, not bind database, just up to. update. I'm pretty sure this is another override target. And generally we copy the override targets from, when we say override target, that means it's over in Microsoft Common Targets and we've copied it here to override it, to customize the behavior inside the Wix project, because our output is sometimes different. And it makes me think that if this doesn't have inputs and outputs on it, maybe it shouldn't. But I want to go look at that. I should put that there. Compared to Microsoft Common Targets. And Microsoft Common Targets is kind of simplified speak for all of the things that make up the MS Build targets and props system. It's very large and sometimes requires a lot of spelunking to figure out what you're looking for. All right, so now we're at the end. So in the end, all projects. So in the end, we ended up with just one target of ours that has inputs and outputs on it, which is the big target, the one that takes by far the most work, the Wix build project, which of course is the thing that calls in the Wix.exe, or calls Wix.exe, calls the build target, and ends up creating, output MSIs and PDBs and cabs and things like that. So it makes sense that this would have inputs and outputs because it's the thing we want to avoid the most. And then the other one is that copy target. That one's interesting. It's got me thinking. Anyway, what did I change on here? I think I changed the white space, right? Okay, so I think we have checked this off. I don't know how I want to denote that. I should start numbering these. You know what? Yep, I should start numbering these so I have them. So completed in episode 7, 1, 1, 1, 1. Dot. There we go. Send that one. All right. Okay. All right. That's cool. Build all projects. Yeah, so I haven't done this work. I had to not go jump into the if we need to do this for the older projects. So I'm going to leave that there. But this, I think, is I'm going to put an X in front of it. There we go. Something like that. My backspace is being annoying. All right. It's pretty good. I like that. Are the signing and harvesting targets out of scope? Oh, for looking at those? That's a good question. Yeah, we should go look at the signing targets. Signing targets are interesting. These were just updated. I'm not going to go jump in the harvesting targets because I have more work to just go over and do on those before I have a lot of ideas I want to try to do to those before I dig into them. But here, yeah, so these are interesting. Let's go ahead and look at the signing targets. So we just did these. Now, these also are about manipulating the files on disk, and it's even more tricky because you can't sign a file that's already been signed. Sign tool tends to get upset about that if you pass it in. And also you don't want to miss any files either. So this has a bit of inputs and outputs on it. All right, so is this the top target? Yeah, this is the entry point. All right, so signing is the first thing, and it has inputs and outputs. So it has the Wix build output file as the input. So all the files that were built are the inputs here, and the outputs are the sign file path. How can that be a single file? Let's go up here and look at sign file path. How is that intermediate sign file name? Sign file name. All right, we have to go look at this because this may not handle. I'm a little worried that this isn't going to handle the when there's multiple MSIs built and being laid out to separate locations. Sign file name. Oh, never mind. All right, I just gotta read it a little bit closer. Sign file name is this thing right here. All right, great. Something that you can specify in your own project. Nobody ever does. All right, fine. So the sign, all right, good. So the signed text file is much like the tracking file, as it contains the list of files that were signed. All right, cool. And that gets created in the intermediate folder. All right, that makes sense. Much like the tracking file does, except there's only one of them, where I think there's a tracking file per language. There's only one signed output, which makes sense. All right, cool. So we take all the build output files, and that comes from the Wix targets. Let's go look and see how that gets set. Oh, the build output file itself, and right, the build output file. And this is a thing that still gets me in MS Build. It seems more common to use a singular for items, even though there may be many of them. And so you have to just kind of know what values are going to be them. It's one of the trickier things, just to kind of know what to expect. But you see here, because we have an expansion on the culture group, we could end up with multiple files, or multiple of these multiple output files being built. So, and that's where we get the ENUS MSI and the JJP sorry, the ENUS folder with the foo.msi and the JJP with the foo.msi in it. So we could get multiple MSIs being built out here. All right, so that's the output files. Great. And then the outputs is our signed file, which will be it written as we do the work here. Right here, write lines to files. All right, great. So this says if our output file is up to date with our inputs, so if all the MSIs are not newer than the sign file, or let's say it the other way around. If any of the input files are newer than the output file, or the output file doesn't exist, then we're going to do this target. And this target then does this depends-ons, and then it will do its body of work. So what do we do at the end? So let's assume that these things up here are going to go do signing for us. Then what is the end result? The end result is, hey, we add a file to our file rights. So we tell MS Build, hey, here's another file I want you to delete, which is namely our text file that we wrote. And then we write the lines to files we write text to the files of all the MSMs, cabs, MSIs, containers, bundles, and bundle related things that we write to that. And we overwrite the entire file. Fine. We also include this MS Build project full path. Right. So if this project file changed, I forgot what this hat means. I think that means something from the VCX or proj tlog files. I forgot what that means. I thought it meant something special. When you have that hat in front of a file name, it meant something. I don't remember if it said ignore this, but it's just if it's a comment line, or if it was this was an input and it didn't modify any things. I don't know. I've forgotten what that's for. But whatever. In the end, we write a text file that has the project full path that came with this, plus all the things that we end up signing. So how do these things all get signed? Well, if we go look up at our signing depends on, we will see that there's, hey, we depend on compiling, not surprising. We want you to calculate the Cyan Targets files, which is in here. And then we have a before and after signing target, which people can override in case they need to do custom things at that point. And there's this internal sign depends on. So internal sign depends on is based off of, well, what kind of thing you're building. So if you're building a module, then we have to sign the merge modules. If you're building a package, we have to sign cabs and then the MSIs, and then update the MSIs. And then if you're doing a bundle, we have to sign containers and then sign the bundle engine and sign the bundle. So all of that is the different set of work we would do. So we're going to see targets for all these things as we go down. Great. So this will build, signing will build. Signing will execute. Signing will execute if any of the inputs are newer than the output file or the output file does not exist. All right, great. So let's go look at all these targets we have then. And the signing is kind of our gatekeeper. So I won't be surprised if there aren't inputs and outputs on everything. But then again, there might be. Well, let's go look, see what we did in the past. All right, so here, this calls calculate the sign target files. So we say our sign target path is all of our built output files. That's fine. And there's all these internal targets because getting the MS build to call these things in the correct order sometimes requires having extra steps that you might not otherwise think about doing. So calculate sign target files gives us all of our files and puts that in the sign target path. Great. Target name. Get the merge modules assigned. So there we go through our sign target files. The inputs are our sign targets files because we only going to call get MSMs to sign if we are building a merge module project. And so the inputs are that, and the outputs are the sign file path. So we're going to use the sign file path as our proxy for all outputs. It's essentially the last file that gets written because we can see it's here at the end of the signing target. So we can take any of the inputs and then say, hey, if any of these are newer than that, we have to go do all this over again, and then we will blit over the entire signed MSI file again. All right, great. So then what do? We take our signed targets and we name them sign MSM. So essentially what we've done is we went and grabbed all the built outputs, we put them in sign target, and then we use sign target as an input everywhere. And this time we just copy all the outputs, which is just the merge module, and shove it into sign MSM. Now, the reason we put it in sign MSM because that makes it easier for people to reference in their custom targets. I'll come back to the custom targets because we'll see those in a minute. All right, so target. So inputs, outputs, that looks right. Target, internal sign MSM. Yes, so this is, it's a meta target essentially that says sign the merge module if we have anything to sign. So if we ended up with any sign MSMs, then call the target sign MSM. And sign MSM, if we go look at it real quick, is this empty target. Actually, all of the sign targets before signing, the sign MSM, sign cab, sign MSI, sign containers, sign bundle engine, sign bundle, and after signing, as you can see, all of these are here are all saying, hey, override these in your project file, so that you can call whatever your process for signing merge modules is, because that requires usually, well, one, finding sign tool, which isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do in all build systems, and then having the right parameters, which includes, either a password, a path to a PFX and a password, or a SHA hash of a thumbprint of a PFX or of a certificate that's in your store, or any number of things. You could also use other tools. There's tools out there that can reach up into Azure Key Vault and sign from those kinds of things, all kinds of different ways. So rather than trying to come up with all different ways of doing that, we don't. And we just leave this target hanging out here. And if you want to sign merge modules, then you override this and you're good to go. Okay, so back up to sign MSM. Sign MSM. Yep, all right, internal sign MSM. All right, so this just runs and calls sign MSM. So we've done all the work around this sign MSM and internal sign MSM to make sure this only gets called if there's something that needs to be signed. And that's the important part. And then target get cabs to sign. All right, so this is used by MSIs, presumably. Yeah, so the inputs are the targets. The sign file path, again, is our proxy. If it says sign output cabs is true, then we call this task that's part of Wix called get cab list of the sign targets full path. So it goes into all of the MSIs that were built and gets all their cabs out so we can find them. All right. And then internal sign cabs. So if there are sign cabs, call the sign cabs target if we need to. All right, great. And then here's get MSIs to sign, which just takes the inputs. Creating item avoiding inference. Oh, what is this? This is an MS build that I forget, like if you create an item by default, there's something, right? MS Build has a very interesting behavior with targets where if you build them, you can have them skip all, you may have them skip all of the inputs and outputs, may skip all the internal tasks in there that you do work. Like in our case, when we build, there's the Wix build target or task, sorry. There's the Wix build target. Let's go back and look at it because then I'll get the terminology right because I'm going to say it wrong otherwise. All right, so, and this is a perfect example. All right, so it's core compile target has these inputs and outputs. So even if the core compile inputs and outputs are, up to date, these things don't happen. The Wix build command does not run. That's the whole purpose of it. If none of your inputs have changed and you do a build, then MSI, none of those outputs are the outputs are already up to date. There's no need to do all this work. However, the MS Build has this behavior, well, it will take these items at the end and say, oh, well, I'm going to say, even if this is target, even this is up to date, I will update any items with the results. So essentially saying, look, I had my inputs and outputs, it's up to date. I'm going to go to the end and I'll grab any item groups that get set. The idea being that, hey, even though this is up to date, the output files are still correct, presumably. So it's this inference that they do. The problem is that sometimes you don't want MS Build to do that. So here we'll create an item with that, but avoid inference. In other words, if we get MSI to sign and the signing target path is, and the inputs and outputs are up to date, then this will not trigger. It's going to avoid inference. If this is just a normal item group, which it could be, because it's just sign target to sign MSI and file rights, we don't want to do that. So instead we avoid the inference and we put it in here. Very long explanation. Basically comes down to only copy this item group into these two item groups if this inputs and outputs were out of date. Ugh. Sometimes the MS Build behavior, you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And then sometimes you have to fight it and do something a little bit kooky like that. All right, and then there's internal sign MSI, yep, which will do the inputs and outputs again. And then we have this target get containers. I find this one interesting. This has never been implemented. It's been hanging out here waiting for someone to do all the work, and nobody's ever asked for it, which really makes me wonder how many people are using containers, at least detached containers in bundles. This is detached containers for bundles, and this hasn't been implemented since forever, which means detached containers probably aren't that interesting, or signing them isn't that interesting. I don't know. Signing them isn't that interesting. Honestly, signing them isn't a great idea because we're better off using hash verification for all the authenticode problems that you can have on target machine. But some people some developers had issues where they had to sign everything that could be signed. I think that was at Microsoft too for a while. It was like anything that can be signed must be signed. It was a very annoying thing. It's like, why? We don't need this signed. It's going to take us a tremendous amount of effort to ship it up, sign it, and bring it back. It's like, whatever. Anyway, detached containers cannot be signed because it's not implemented yet. Anyway, so signed containers will never get called. Then sign the bundle engine. These are the internal signs, so only do the signing if there are set sign containers, sign bundle engine, and sign bundle. Does Burn even support signed detached containers? Yeah, I don't know that Burn will validate the signature of the containers. It wouldn't surprise me if it would surprise me if it did. Well, let's put it that way. No, is that? Yeah, I can see it being working, but I could also it wouldn't surprise me if it was only just SHA hash for the detached containers. And again, that it came from the idea that, oh, if any file that can be signed must be signed, kind of thing. Yeah, anyway. All right, so that's that. And then here we are, the MSI. So, right. So if we're doing MSI and we have any of the files up to date, then let's do this. It's interesting, we're still using Cyan Target path as Cyan file path, even though technically speaking, no, we're using Cyan Target down here. All right. Okay. Condition, Cyan caps. Oh, does not equal 0. Right, does not equal blank. Right. So we're only going to do inscribe and MSI if we sign cabs that were external. That makes sense. So only go back and update the MSI with all the signed information about its cabs if there were cabs to do that with. So skip this otherwise. That makes sense. The bundle engine. Yeah. So if we're doing the signing, we need to go do the detaching the bundle engine for signing. Then you go off and sign the bundle engine, and then we have to reattach it back to the original bundle. Again, only run these if needed. Here we go. Before signing, and then we're down to these guys, which do not have inputs, outputs. They would be overridden by the people that own them. All right. So in the end, we're down to one target that has all its inputs, which actually is a good thing. It's correct. I guess it feels right. It feels correct that this is the thing that if any of your projects change, this is the thing that has to run again. Now in the past, there would have been compile and link, and those would have been two separate targets, and we would have to have checks on presumably both of them. Although I guess you could have on the first and do the compile, and then the second one sign. Yeah, and then there's also been lib files that would have it as well. So now with Wix moving more to the single build command world like .NET, we have one target. We behave much more like csc.exe, and that makes life generally easier because the common targets, the Microsoft common targets, are definitely much more aligned towards building more like C# than like C++. And as much as we give VCXProj a hard time about all of its trials and tribulations, they have a lot of work they have to do to work well inside MS Build, because it wasn't like MS Build did a lot to make it easy on them, which may be part of the reason that VCXProj seems to be, or the C++ team seems to be favoring CMake over VCXProj. I don't know. Don't know what to do with that one. If they abandon VCXProj, then I don't know how we create project references to C++ projects. We'll have to come up with something else, I guess. But that's not a Wix4 problem. That'll be a future problem. All right. So I think we did this now. That feels pretty good. And I will say this. Clear episode 7. I didn't come up with this originally, but I'm kind of liking this. C item 7.1. All right. Cool. That, and that. Bind database. Ah, yes. Right. This problem here was that when we got to the end of an MSI, we did not capture all the inputs and outputs. Or rather, we did not capture all of the inputs, namely source files from binary and icon files. Yeah. Do I want to work on that? Or do I want to work on the, where is it? Find if there's some way to detect that dash restore should have run before a WixProj is built. Or do I want to try to go write more test infrastructure to help me do the validation that incremental build is working? Really, before I do this 6.3 work here, I'd like to have the tests in place, because then I could just run them repeatedly and know that it's working. But I haven't thought much about what kind of stuff I need working in the tests to make them efficient, especially for checking inputs and outputs, up-to-date checks. Which way do I want to go? Or I could just jump over to that restore thing, which would be a different sort of task. That would be pure MS build work. So many choices. So many choices. I was thinking getting an extension or something to insert a fine-grained timestamp somewhere that changes on every build. I was thinking getting an extension to insert a fine-grained timestamp somewhere that changes on every. Oh, on every build. Yeah, that's interesting. I was trying to do something more direct. I was thinking actually about hashing the output files, just to know that they changed, because it should be then. I should be able to do a build, hash the files, and then do another build. And if the hash hasn't changed, that means they didn't build. Because I don't think any of our builds are pixel perfect from one build to the next, because they all end up with some GUID that changes inside them to get the outputs somewhere. Even if it's just the compilation ID that ends up inside the Wix PDB, something would end up being different every build. So, yes. Why don't we go jump over the tests real quick and see how far am I from being workable? I was doing a build over here. I was doing an incremental build, and fatal error. And be a precompiled header is from a different version of the compiler, or a precompiled header is this. Is this, Sean, is this another one of those warnings being treated as an error? Or is that actually an error? Fatal error. C1853. It is a fatal error. Oh no, it's just dead. From previous build, possible cause precompiler was compiled with previous compiler version. No. Using it from C. Oh. Don't expect either of those to be true. I was doing an incremental build. All right. I don't know how to feel about that one. All right, I'm gonna grab this real quick. What this is? This is an incremental build of the Wix toolset itself. Zero opening issue for the following build failure in the Wix build. Or vice versa. I like that. Vice versa. All right. The vice versa caught my eye because I think we use it in the Wix toolset. When we use it in the Wix toolset, I remember thinking, I don't know, is that the right thing to use in an error message? And Bob assured me it would be fine. And here we are. C++ project uses it, so it must be fine. All right, let's move on. All right, I was going to go try to open my test project. So yes, in Wix end-to-end test solution. All right, so I know this has the bare minimum. Yeah, see, this has the bare minimum essentially just to say, hey, these projects need to build. Did I update VS between builds? I don't think I did. I might have. Maybe I did. I'll do a, what do I have to do? I have to do a clean build, edit something, and then, yeah, we'll have to see. I'll do a clean build and then try to do an incremental build and see where it goes from there. Let's see, what's next? I have to decide. Yay, people sending us, you have a tax remittance. Here's a PDF.html file. Be sure you open it on your machine. It's like, oh, seriously? Why wasn't this cataloged as spam? Because the Outlook spam filter has been decreasing in utility in quite a while. All right, so these do not build in parallel because they have this clean in them every time. Yeah, these tests are very minimal. They're going to need more enhancements to work well. The MS build, execute, restore, and x64. Right, and I get a result back, and the result should give me the messages. Yeah, it gives me the output. So the output should also help. Oh, let's see. So here's ncrunch running. Oh, I closed my ncrunch window. Let's see, extensions, ncrunch. I never remember which of these is it test? Yeah, it's test. Open up over here on my other window, but let me see. Can I stick it on the side here real quick? Does that take up too much? I don't know. It's awfully small though. Let's see. All right. Cannot process the file of that because it's used by another process. Fine. Yes, these cannot run in parallel. Let's see if I run that test again. Does it work? Yeah, so there's could be yeah, see now these tests are going to pass now that I'm running them in singular. Yeah, okay, so ncrunch likes to run things in parallel. I told it to run things in parallel by default, so it does, as I told it to. But these tests are not designed to run in parallel. They should be improved to be able to run in parallel. All right. Good bit of things to do in here. All right, let's just do something straightforward and see what we get. All right, I have ncrunch. All right, I have ncrunch here. Let's go ahead and have it help me. I'm just gonna hack some of this together for now. Can rebuild, incremental build with no edits. I don't know, something like that. All right, clear all of these. Let's see. All right, I just want to pin this one. Pin. All right. Run. You guys are happy, right? Why are you taking so long? All right, that's better. Run. And then run. Okay, everybody's happy. I need to not run these in parallel. All right, let's see. Which of these is engine mode? Run pin test automatically. There we go. All right, we'll have one pin test and we'll turn off theirs. All right, there we go. Now we're just running this one test. Every time I type a character, it goes off and tries to do another build and restore. So now I said I'm going to do this with no edits. All right, let's just see if it works. So the white lines start, and then the white lines hopefully go away, and we will have a passing test. There we go. Also, the yellow shows you where things are really slow. So it's kind of, ncrunch is a really nice tool. So yeah, it's 5,000, is that milliseconds? Yes, so this is taking 5 seconds to build. And then the second time we build, it took less, which is a good thing. That's what you would expect. Okay. I need to get the hashes for these files. What kind of test project is this? Go on. Net472. Bummer. Bummer. I was hoping I'd be able to cheat a little bit. All right. Oh, and I have to decide, what do I want to get the hash of? Oh, no, this isn't going to work out well at all because the MS build runner execute, I'm pretty sure, cleans up after itself. Yes, it does. Isn't it? No? Maybe not. Oh, looks like I might be in luck. Does not. All right. Good. Good. I don't know why I was thinking it did. Okay. I just have to figure out where the thing gets built to. So that's the project path. So let's do result assert.true. True. File exists equals project path. That's really weird. Let's see. Oh, that's the project path. This is an MSI, isn't it? Yes, it is. All right. Equals path dot get directory name from project path. Path dot combine, please. Bin debug, I think, and I don't know the name of this. It's probably going to be this dot MSI. File exists MSI path. All right. If it fails, then we'll get a piece of information that'll tell us where it went. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. And if I get it right the first time, that'll be amazing. Yeah, didn't get it right the first time. This condition fails. Oh, no, it's not going to tell me where it was, of course. I do not like assert true for this reason. Yeah, you're right. I was probably thinking of building a query that does the whole cleanup after itself, which fortunately is not the one we use. All right, tell me where it went. It's going to tell me something on my temporary drive, my R drive, which is my memory drive. There we go. Let's go look at some of this because we know some of this project worked. R colon that. Let's see. R colon bin debug. Oh, this is multi-language. Well, I would have had it right if I just would have remembered there was a language one. Okay, anyway. We're just hacking our way through here for fun and profit. Okay. Good, good. Good. Yay, all right. So private static string. Yeah, I want a string. Get hash code string path. Whatever. For I don't know, SHA-2 equals SHA-2. Is that it? SHA-1? Is it SHA-256? Yes. Create, please. All right, let's see how this goes. Now I have to remember how to use this. What is your problem? Oh, fine. I'm not using a new enough C#. So be it. SHA-2 dot, let's see, compute hash for, I have to read the bytes, huh? These files should all be small. Should be. Famous last words. File dot read all bytes. That, yes. Hash bytes. Let's see. If I was using more recent .NET 6, 5, 6, I don't know, they have a built-in hash to string function for me. I have to decide, do I want to do the bit converter? Do I want to return them as, do the string builder and convert it all to hex? I don't know. I think I can just do that. I gotta remember the syntax. X 0 colon X, X colon 0. I never remember this part. I don't know. Let's see. For each byte in that, do that. ToString was great. Yes, that. Thank you. I don't know how well that works. Insert dot equal hash. Yes. All right. Let's see how we are doing there. Great. Yeah, I did not get the syntax right. Is it X in front? Is it in front? I never remember this syntax. I remember Don Box giving Anders a hard time when he showed the syntax for console write line. It's like, yeah, that's syntax only a mother could love. Why don't I ever remember this syntax? Stack Overflow, why not? Oh, look, 0:X. Okay. Why do I never remember the syntax? Oh, did I miss? Oh. Yes. Curly braces would be a good idea, though. All right, let's see if that works better. So I got mostly correct first time, just forgot the curly braces. Nope, that's just giving me 0. Oh, wait, what? There we go. Am I going to trust that number? Probably. These numbers aren't the same. Then I don't know what I'm going to do anyway. I only need the first 8 letters, right? The first 8 should be enough. Right? Right? Isn't that what a get uses? Is the first 8 for its hash? And a log? Nope, that's not it. Yeah, there's the short one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This number is like obnoxiously long. Right, like, really? Just matters if it's different. Holy cow, there's more to go? Oh, I think I put 2 2s there. I suppose I'm supposed to put the 9. We'll see. Yeah. Wait. Oh, duh. Silly me. It's like, yeah, why does this number keep changing? Because you keep building. That's the whole point, Rob. Right. Of course. All right. First hash. First hash. Alrighty then. So now... the only problem is... all right, I'm doing the same build. It should give me the same file. So, all right, how does this? Oh man, yeah, perfect. That's amazing. That's exactly what I wanted. First hash, second hash. All right, let's see. Do we go green? Yay. That's very good. So now the tricky part here is trusting that the build is outputting to the same location, and I'm not just reading the exact same file. Yeah, that's going to be a hard thing to test or to trust. I guess I could get up. Whoa. Why did that fail? This is going to be very interesting. It can be very interesting to try and figure out what to do here. When something goes wrong, it's like, well, I guess it got modified. Good luck. All right, so one of the things I'm thinking about doing is grabbing all of the files from the bin folder and hashing them, and then comparing them all again. Do I want to restore again? I want it to be a no-op. I don't know if restore is a no-op. Let's see. I'm just curious. So I run this test again. Does it pass? Or does it fail? I don't know. What do I want? Do I want it to pass or do I want it to fail? Yeah, see, it passed. Do I need to get the file? Yeah, I think I want all of the files. I think I want all of the files and their hashes. I'm not sure how I want to test that though. So what are we at here? Like this, go var first built files equals directory files. All right, that.combine project directory. There we go. No quote, no close, no close. There we go. Okay, now get files from the project directory. Var project bin path. I don't know. Maybe this is the right idea. Something like that. It's something like this, right? Get files from the project bin path. Star, please, and all of them. All right. First built files. I don't remember if, what do I want to say here? First, haha, black. Just want to make sure I'm getting the right things out of them. All right, let's take the rest of this test out for a second. So this is where I use ncrunch to just go ahead and get me the answer, even though I know this is wrong. All right, what I wanted to see is it relative or is it a full path? I think I want relative. Yeah, we'll take relative. Select? No link? No link, okay. Substring, project bin path length. To array. All right, let's see if that gave us debug or whack debug. I have a feeling it gave me whack debug. It did. Let's go ahead and put oh, I know what I'll do. Substring trim start. Thank you. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so that's that file. Okay, so I'm going to want to keep the result. And then I'm going to do this again. Okay, fine. Just to grab it real quick. second builds files. So what I want to do is there's the Wix assert compare line by line. Something like that is what I want. So I want like first hashes equals first built files. Yeah, select. No, the substring. This feels a little dirty, but let's see if we can to array it. Okay. So I want to get the S with hash get file hash. Oh, shoot. I guess I do want the full paths there, and I want the friendly path here. Let's do that. Oh, yes. Come on, Rob. All right. We can do better than this in a bit. Oh, did I really take out the... all right, here we go. So what are we trying to say? Man, cannot give me the characters I want. Ask this. What do we have? Upset token. I'm blind. Oh, there's a... Oh. All right. All right, that's why I was confused. I was looking forward too much. Okay. This get file hash. Yes, that. Get file. Oh, it needs a string. All right, there we go. So that should give me those. Second hashes should give me this. Second build file should have. And this is an assert that we put in Wix to do a compare line by line, which I hope will give me lots and lots of detail when it fails. Oh, cannot be larger than length of string. Oh, yes, I forgot to take the select out of this one. All right, gonna have to refactor this code a little bit because this is all hacked up, but it's getting started. All right, there we go. Just show me some strings. Wow. Ah, wow. Huh. Huh. All right, let's see if I just want to make sure it fails because there's a whole lot going on there. I want to see what the failure looks like when it fails too. Like, does it look good? It did not fail. No, it's still running. Isn't it still running? All right, I went to the first built files. I should have overwritten it. Oh, the first built file, the second built file, the same file. I have to get the hashes. Oh, gosh. Come on, Rob. There. Okay. Gosh, putting all after the build makes no sense at all. Okay, there. So clearly this has to go off and get moved into a function. All right, there we go. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. And what does it show me? Line 0, expected this, actual that. That's pretty much what I wanted. That's pretty much what I wanted. That file was the one that was modified, yes. So if I change this to 3, does it get the Wix PDB? Maybe the MSI Wix PDB is probably the third file. I'm assuming it's the third file. Oh, no, that's the fourth file. This may crash actually. No, there is a fourth file. Oh, it's the MSI. But expected 1 with hash that and that. All right, let's debug this because that's a little suspect. All right, let's go ahead. Debug. Just want to make sure everything's working right. Yeah. Do my 5-second build. Do. There we go. All right, yay, success. Grab all the files. First build files is, whoa. Oh, duh. It's different languages. Okay, so I'm modifying file 3, which would have been cab1 again. I think I'm overriding file 3. All right, great. So there's everything with hashes. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. That. Okay, so now I'm modifying first built files 3. 0, 1, 2, 3, which should have been the cab again. Okay, fine. So if I overwrite that, and then I get all the directories, and then I get all the files out of their hashes, second built files. So I really need to order these as well. I'm counting on the directory tree to be the same. Okay, now compare lines by lines. Expected 1. Why is this file? Oh. I overwrote a cab, so the MSI is different, but I overwrote the Japanese cab. Oh, now I've just confused myself. What have I done? Okay. These are the outputs too. So okay, see, this is exactly the problem. Yeah, I know, I overwrote the file after the build. This shouldn't be doing anything. Like, at least not what I was thinking I would want it to be doing. So now I'm just... Oh, no, after the build. Yeah, modifying the output files isn't going to be interesting. Yeah, now I've got the WixPDB. Okay, so now when I go to 3, this should be the cab. Expected. There we go. Now it's the cab. Yay. Yes, I just wanted the test to fail the way I wanted it to fail. And it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So now it is. All right, so what does this do? This now validates that we have all the files. And it spits out which file is different when doing this comparison. And what it doesn't do is provide us the log file, the output of the build, unfortunately. That would be the best thing if it was said, hey, I built and was the end result. Yes, so let's see here. Okay, so you change that, save. Let's see what it does now. Run that test. Run. And it still says they're different. See, now what do I do? And if I debug it, let's put this here, Is it gonna pass? All right. Yeah, see, it passed. Because it didn't throw an exception, so it passed. Why am I getting increment? Oh, wait. What is that? Wait, what? That's interesting. Yeah, there's the bin log that will be laying around. Oh, I see. You're saying the bin log will be running around. That's interesting. But where is it left? It's left. I don't have that path now. At least not here. Can I get the... What I'm thinking is it'd be really nice if I could say, here's the failure, and then add all of the bin log information to it. So that would be nice if I could do that. In temp, the last modify folder. Well, yeah, not here, not under ncrunch. It's not, but yeah, it's gonna be in the location ncrunch is put these things. So my R drive. Hello. Ah. Hey, I hit it. Interesting. Cool. Let's just look at the result output real quick. 14. Ugh. All projects are up to date. Oh, that's restore. Really? Come on, there's one more line? No. Wait, what? Determine project restore, all projects up to date, and then we did the build. Okay. Ncrunch this line. I want this folder here. There, maybe? Oh, that's the VCX project. I want the Wix proj for this case. What am I doing? Wix. Make sure I'm looking at the right one here. Wix proj, Wix native, Wix proj. Yep, right, there it is. All right, let's take a look and see what we get. Build succeeded. Right, that's not the problem. I was like, wait, no, everything's fine. So used to saying failed builds right now. All right, core compile is rebuilding, skipping. Oh, build, because this file is different. Is newer than the output file. That's not happening consistently. What's the full? It's newer than the cab. Huh. Yes, I'm not using the disposable file system, which would be deleting things. Exactly. But because I'm not using disposable file system, the tests also can't run in parallel because they're all running right here on top of each other. So, I mean, it's good for this case, bad for the other. It means that I wonder if we should update disposable file system to be able to say, hey, keep these files around at the end. That would be interesting. Might have to look at that. Might have to look at that. So disposable file system, for those of you that aren't familiar with this, is a way to, is a test system that we have inside the Wix toolset that creates a folder and then lets you do a whole bunch of stuff. And then when you finish, it has a disposable on it. So when the using exits, everything inside that folder gets deleted. At least that's the idea. So adding support to Disposable system to have to keep specified files. For example, keep a build.bin log when the build fails, to help track down when the test fails due to an MS build issue, like this. All right, or whatever the case may be, something like that. That might be interesting. Yep. Now what's interesting is that is newer than the cab. How is it newer than the cab it went into? And why does the test sometimes work? Yeah, so if the extraction process is not same time step, so that is definitely true, but I think it does that. I do think the Wix build does that for exactly that reason, but I will definitely go and check that. The thing is that sometimes the test passes, sometimes it fails. So sometimes the cab is new enough. Is there some way that this cab could be older? Well, okay, these files should still be here, right? Yeah, they should still be here. Let's go look real quick. 409 build integration with OBJ. Let's see, since we're failing, let's see. Debug, am I looking at the right place? Integration. Why am I doing it this way? Let's just open a new folder. There we go. Is that where we were at? Yeah, pretty close. Yep, all right. And then let's grab this folder. And let's see if this is a, wait, where'd my other folder go? Ah, too many. Did it close? 1, 2. There we go. There we go. Now I got them both. Okay. Too many windows open here. Wait. Oh, that was so weird. Okay. That was strange. All right, cab one. Yeah. Properties. Show me a timestamp. I guess general. Created, modified. Okay. Created, modified. Yeah, so the created date is later than the created date of the cab file, but the modified date of the cab is later than the file. And I guess that makes sense because the cab was, wait. The file ends up in the cab. The file ends up inside the cab, and the cab gets, and the file should have been extracted a good bit before the cab was created. At least that's what my memory says. All right, let's take a quick gander, and I think then that may be where we're leaving it off for the day. But that's okay, because we made some progress on this testing code, so that's good. Need to refactor it significantly, but that's okay. Where am I looking? I'm looking at Let's Code Wix. Here we go. The file came from a merge module. Yes, at least that's what it looked like. It should have been. So contains merge modules. So we merged the merge modules. All right, where do we extract the files? All right, so here's creating cabs of 439. Where do we, I was pretty sure, well, let's look at merge modules. merge modules command. Yes, so this then merges, yeah, this calls merge ex into the merge tool to have the merge module joint. And that's all this is doing, I think. Action validation, yeah, just some fix up that you have to do around merge modules, but not the files. The files should have been extracted. Let me see if I search for extract here. How about module? Let's see. Contains modules. Extract files. This is not extract files from merge modules. No, that happens later. Extract files command from merge modules. Yes, there we go. All right, so 258, that's where we should have extracted the files. Get the merge modules. Right, back and track the files, add the files, yeah, create file facade. There's the cabinet, extract cap. All right, so this extract command should have extracted the files. And then down, what was it, 450 something? Then we call create cabinets, which creates the cabinets. So somehow the timestamp of the files, but the created timestamp is, yeah, that's just, unless the EN, US, and JAJP builds are overlapping and cabs being created, but that would not make sense. That would be really weird. It's really strange that it got created 1 second, it says. So is it possible for these? But there's a lot of things. I mean, well, let's see. What's everything that happens here? Modularization. Well, I mean, we create the MSI file, so that's going to take a bit. Most of these other things are just in memory. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know how we go back in time from that point to this point. That's a mystery. I think that's a mystery for next time. All right, I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna declare it. So that's why I knew once we kind of got things working, this test was going to, or I had a feeling this test was going to expose some very subtle things, but that's what I want. What I don't want is the test being a false positive. So, or generating lots of false positives. So let us go ahead and I don't know. New unit test fails intermittently. I think that's where we're going to leave it. All right. Getting the test started is a good place to set us up for the future. I like that. That was something in that hash command in there and having it kind of go back and forth and seeing nice output to say, hey, this file is the exact file that's different. Although not having the build log would have made this very difficult. So that's obviously something you're going to need to be able to debug these things. Otherwise, you're like, oh, that test failed. I guess I need to just stick a debugger on it to figure out really what went wrong, which is never as much fun if you can just open a test and look at it and be like, oh, yeah, okay, that was related. But we'll see. Yeah. So now we have that. Now we have the test that works sometimes, but not every time. Let's see if we go back to the test and we let it run. So there it's different. And now if I run it, it is green, not green, not green, or not. Here it's green. Yeah, so That's pretty unsettling. So we'll have to go track that down, and it's going to be something in between this line and that line above, or it's going to be some interaction with our JAJP build coming along and through in here. That's possible too. Anyway, I think that's where we're at. I wonder if it's cab cache. That doesn't... I'm not even sure cab cache is enabled on these projects. But anyway, I have it there. All right. Things will be going okay. So I think I will be back next week. Next week we'll have this, and then we'll also have the Wix meeting. So until then, you guys keep coding. You know I am. Bye.